Hello, lovely souls. My name is Jackie, and welcome to the Raven Rabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I'm an enrolled member of the Washoe Tribe of California and Nevada. I have always been deeply connected to the unseen spiritual world since I was a child. I wouldn't say that my spiritual awakening can be pinpointed to one specific date, time, or event, but rather it was a natural unfolding over my lifetime. And I want to share that journey with you to let you know that your spiritual awakening is divinely guided. If you want help with self worth and self doubt, then this is the place for you. I took baby steps to change my life and heal from anxiety, depression, and self doubt. Ultimately, I built Raven Rabbit in my quest to help others like you do the same. I am a metaphysical minister, energy healer, and intuitive coach. In this podcast, I draw on metaphysical principles, I read energy, and I intuitively guide a conversation with the holistic, indigenous, spiritual approach to life, healing, and happiness. Stick around to explore the unseen, navigate metaphysics to live your life to the fullest, be the happiest version of yourself, and to deeply heal from what holds you back. Hello, Raven Rabbit family, and welcome to the Raven Rabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jackie Cope, and I'm so excited to be here with you today and welcome you to my podcast with all my thoughts, experiences that I'd like to relay to you. A lot of this podcast I channel and share with you freely. I take notes, nothing that structured. And let me tell you, I'm a highly structured person, but my podcast is a little more free. I let my angels, my guides be with me, and we just channel about all the things I want to talk about, love, or need to address. In this episode, episode 28, we're going to talk about something juicy here. Have you checked your privilege? This is a big one. This gets into my social justice and human rights work that I am so passionate about. I am so passionate about this work that I'm offering a completely free course on this because I think we all need access to this information if we want to level up as a society and get to that next level. If you feel like you've plateaued in your coaching business, consulting business, teaching, any of those things, I highly encourage you to get involved in my human rights courses called Transformative Spaces. This one is Have You Checked Your Privilege? This is just going to be easy podcast riff about what this course is about, and of course to talk to you about your privilege. If you want to get a deeper, more structured conversation on this, please join my course because let me tell you, it's super structured there. If you have not really listened to a spiritual podcast before and you're just clicking this because you're a human rights lover and social justice advocate, you're going to get a little bit of both here. I don't separate my work. If you look at my website, it looks like I'm a crazy person who does a million different things, and that's because I am. And I don't care. I have so many passions. There's this woman on TikTok that started talking about multi-passionate people, and that is me. But it's funny because at the end, it's not funny. It's not a coincidence. It's a synchronicity. All of them are connected. Everything that I love. They're just connected in various ways. So my human rights work, to me, I feel like you can't be a good teacher and you can't be a good coach or a spiritual teacher in this earthly realm without having your privilege checked and without having social justice underneath your belt. You could be a coach. I mean, by all means, you could be a teacher. But if you want to have that big impact that I know you feel inside of you, we have to do this work. Oh, and in my last episode, well, we don't say work. We have to go through this process. Going through this process will just make you so much of a stronger, understanding human being. So before we get started into this episode, I want to tell you some stones I'm working with today. I have my turquoise so that my throat chakra is clear and I can communicate to you all. I have my malachite so I can connect with my ancestors, healed guides, angels, ascended masters. All of those can be here in the room and in this podcast with us. And then for this one, when I started channeling, okay, I'm going to do this episode, I grabbed a prism. And I tell you, I work with crystals. I work on crystals on a personal level because every crystal I've gone to and has called to me has all been super personal. And then I learn about it and I like to apply that. I don't know about every crystal and everything. The prism though just seemed like we needed to have this in order to have a conversation about privilege. So just in a quick little search about the purpose of having a prism spiritually within the work, because man, it called to me. It was like, we have to have a prism. A prism can have multiple spiritual meanings. Um, the one that resonates the most with me is figuratively. Prisms can be used figuratively to describe a way of looking at or thinking about something that causes you to see or understand it in a different way. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here in this episode today. So, it has an example here too. I just kind of read it. For example, some say that looking backwards through a prism can help you understand the true nature of things. So, I think that's what we're doing in this episode and why a prism was calling to me to get on the table here and be a part of the conversation. So, I feel it like just having so much joy. So excited because I've had this prism in our home. I knew I my partner got it. I've never had a chance to actually work with it and use it though. So, first time. And that's what the spiritual side, maybe if you're unfamiliar with that, that's what this is all about. I don't know everything spiritual, but I am always open to learning higher levels of things and diving into them. So here we are. Let's get grounded in this talk today. I need everyone to take a deep breath in, pull that earth star chakra underneath you, and exhale. Get grounded where you're at. Find your center. Make yourself at home in this conversation. Have you checked your privilege? So, first things first, what is privilege? Now, if you go to my class, you go to my course, you're going to get a very nice definition. As many of you know, listening to my podcast, I've had brain surgery, so riffing's a little bit harder. But privilege is something that was just handed to you, that we had no say or involvement in the earthly realm. Maybe at like a spiritual level coming into earth we might have, but on the earthly realm it's something that you have that you did nothing for, and it's just there. And having privilege gets you closest to opportunity. So in my course I have a privilege wheel, and this privilege wheel was adapted from one that I have found online that I really like. I just kind of redrew it to fit my needs and my courses. Let me pull up the wheel because that one is really important. So in the center, everyone who's in the center of the wheel is closest to privilege. As we move further away from the center, you're further removed from privilege. So just so we can understand who is privileged, my next question is, how do I know I'm privileged? How could you know that? This is just one suggestion. There is no wheel of power I've seen that has it all and is the end all be all, because there's different viewpoints to look at it. And as being an indigenous person, there's access to powers that don't apply to other people, but would apply in an indigenous community and not maybe other communities. And I'm sure that's the same for like all of our BIPOC communities, that there's something that would bring you closer to power versus further away from power. But on the sense in the whole, I have this wheel here with 18 things as to what can make you privileged. So there's a lot of ways to be privileged. And to be honest with you, I have 9 of them. I am very privileged, and I have to assess those privileges often. And I have to make sure that when I'm doing my processes and when I'm trying to teach, that I'm taking these into account. So, power. You're a white person, okay, through and through. You're neurotypical. You have mental stability. You have an able body. Your religious viewpoint is Christian in this country in the USA. You're rich, you're an adult, you have a post-secondary education, you're a homeowner. You can drive and have the ability to drive as like owning a car. You fall into one of the two parties with political affiliation. You're either Democratic or Republican. You believe in and have monogamous marriage. You're a citizen of this country. You're a salaried person. You're a native English speaker. You're a cisgender man. And you're slim and muscular. Those are typically the people who hold the most power in the country of the United States. Okay, so that's, and I'm sure I could be missing one. I've done my research. I've tried to learn as much as I can, but there's always more to learn. From my research, those are the ones that I have found are the closest to power. For me, I have 9 of those. So how do you know if you have privilege? You have one of those. And that might be a lot to hear. That in itself could be triggering. If that is triggering, we got to start working on a process for you to start handling that. Because it'll be okay. I have 9 of them. And it's okay. um Maybe I don't have 9 anymore. I forgot about having brain surgery. It could be a little bit further from power now because with a little bit of a disability here. But it doesn't matter. I still hold power. And I bring that power with me wherever I go. So when I go to school to teach kids, when I'm showing up to you on this space for the podcast, when I'm on my website and I'm teaching courses online and I'm creating beautiful products and jewelry, I'm doing all of this from my area of privilege. So we need to know that. My next question is, what should I do about my privilege? So now I just told them to you all. You might hear one of them like, oh, I have that one. Maybe you have 9. Maybe you have all 18. What should you do about it? And that's where it starts to get tricky and where you need to start building a process. I can speak from mine here and about what I have done for them. Let's see, I'm trying to find mine here. Post-secondary education. That's a good one for me. I have a lot of formal education. I have 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 masters, and 1 doctorates, and I'm working on a second doctorate. They're both one secular set and one non-secular set. So from a formal standpoint, I have a lot of privilege when it comes to education. And there's 2 ways to view that education. You can either just appreciate that education and still be welcoming to all forms of education, or you could be the other type of person who's like, oh, they didn't go to college, and we look down upon other people who have not gotten that formal education. So that's where the privilege gets sticky. I know I have to never look down on somebody who doesn't have formal education. And when you go through the American education system, education is so highly valued, it's hard to have a different standpoint because it is drilled into us that we have to be college and career ready. And I feel like it's harder too, especially like I love education. I have my formal education, and my formal education is about education. So it's like double whammy. Like I believe in education so much. But because I've gone and pursued my other type of education, my metaphysical and stuff, and I had a father who um, was a blue collar worker, there's so many different ways to learn than just the formal education system. So I have to check that privilege. Just because somebody doesn't have some kind of formal education does not make them less than. We have something to learn from everybody. So that's how you check your power and privilege. You have something that others might not have, and are you being inviting? Are you being inviting even with that? Okay, so post-secondary education is one of my privileges. Um, Other one that's kind of uncommon for a woman my age, a woman too, as well. I'm a homeowner. I've been a homeowner since I was 27. That is not typical. I owned a home young, and I've been a homeowner ever since. And that's a huge privilege. Like, I don't take my house for granted for 1 second, and the fact that I own it. Um, I know, especially in the climate it is today, that it is a huge privilege to be able to come home, have a home, and to own a home. And it is not something I take lightly at all. And I must hold space for those who are renters who want to be homeowners. And I need to hold space for those who might be sheltered or homeless. So that's a big privilege I have. And for me to, like, I am not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I worked so hard to own a house. All you have to do is work hard. No, I was born in a position where it was possible. If I wasn't born in the position that I was in, being a homeowner, I would be in the boat with everybody else who's struggling, who's a renter who wants to own. My dad knows how to build. He has built 3 homes by himself, no contractors. Very non-typical story. For him, I would say he is the one who worked his butt off to get where he was at. He was on his own since he was 14 years old, never thought he'd own a home, and he started trading his skill of being a cable man and satellite installer with other blue-collar workers to learn their skill. So he would exchange work for learning work. He wouldn't even exchange work for work. Like, hey, I'll put a satellite in your home if you come do the plumbing. All he said was, I'll give you a satellite in your home and help you install it if you just teach me how to plumb. So he's the one who worked his butt off. And because he has all that knowledge, I was just thankfully born to him. And he passed all that knowledge to me. And we started building my home when I was 24 years old. And it took 2 years, and I've owned it since I was 27. So that's what I'm talking about when I say you're born into it and have no say. I had no say in whether my father was learning those skills when he was in his teens and 20s. That had nothing to do with me. Same thing with my post-secondary education. I didn't have to fight my way from the bottom to the top. There are some educated people in my family, not a lot. I don't come from a huge family of education, but there's a few. And they started setting that example, which was easier for me to fall into. The only thing I did as a first in my family was to go to college at 18 years old, straight out of high school for the whole 4-year experience. And then I went through it fast. Right after that, went for my master's. I would say I took a 2-year break. I really didn't. If you know anything about teaching, I cleared my credential for 2 years, which is a ton of work. And then I went into my doctorates. So I got all of that done by the time I was 30. And that's because I was supported. Definitely. And I had no say in all of that. That's why it's such a privilege. I drive, again, huge privilege. My dad taught me how to drive since I was a little girl. I've been on a vehicle since I don't even remember when. That's a huge privilege that we even owned those things, and I had a father to teach me those things. I'm in a monogamous relationship. That's just how I was born. It's a privilege. I had no say in that. That's who I was. I'm attracted to the opposite sex, and that happens to be accepted here. We have other people who were born the way they were, and it's not accepted, which is outrageous, but that removes them from power. So again, something else I didn't have a say in. I'm a citizen of this country, and that's where I said it gets a little dicey, the citizenship thing, because when you talk about indigenous people, I'm also a citizen of my tribe, which is a privilege in itself because some people, you get into colonial stuff and it's a privilege and it's not. But I am a citizen of the United States, but I'm also a citizen of a tribe. So that one gets really hard. I'd have to have another indigenous person on to talk about that and pull that. That's a whole episode in itself. And then I'm salaried. I've been salaried since I was 24 years old. Again, that goes back to I was able to obtain my education. I didn't have to worry about renting or owning a home. I could focus on my career and I could have a salaried position. So that is how I am very privileged. I have never done manual labor and I've never been unemployed and I've never been a full-time parent. So I have to make space for those types of people around me and through my work that I do. And I feel like that's easier because of the upbringing I have was still very grounded, but for my children coming up, they're not gonna know that so much, so we're gonna have to work on that. I'm a native English speaker, which is another privilege. I was born here. I was taught English. I had no say in that. That's why it's a privilege. And some people don't view that as a privilege, but it is. Um, so that's how you start assessing your privilege and then thinking about what could you do about it. You have to start thinking about other people and what it would be like to be somebody who did not have those things. And how did you even obtain those things without lying to yourself? Because absolutely, my post secondary education was my time commitment. I didn't have to do that, but I had the choice. That's the privilege. It was something in my realm, in my work field, that was invited in and placed there by the generations before me. I believe that that was the path I was going to take. I had to get a drink. So, next question about privilege. How can I hold space for those removed from privilege? This is where I really get into my spiritual work because I think first and foremost, you have to listen. Do not fill the space with your talk and your knowledge and your experience. I just had this happen a few weeks ago to me. New job, new people, new stuff. As we all know, education is filled with a lot of white people, and it's very triggering for me because very few of them are aware of this knowledge. They don't know their privilege. They don't understand why they do what they do. And there was a person there, male. He's such a sweet guy. There's no thing on him. But he we got asked a question and man, he had it answered immediately. No think time. And then when he kind of finished his answer and it sounded like he was finishing and someone else was going to talk, he felt the lull come, that quietness, and started talking more. And that's where, like, you're not holding space for anybody else when you do that. We can sit there in silence until the next person's ready because we have to think about other people's cultures. In my indigenous culture, it's quiet. It's quiet because we're thinking and we're respectful, and we typically let the oldest person go first. Like elders are going to speak on something first, and we have to make sure what we're going to say is very appropriate. We've been raised differently. And I'm sure other cultures in the BIPOC community would feel that way too. Like they're not just going to jump in there and say the first thing that came to their mind. They're going to think about their elders. They're going to think about their families. Like we do all this stuff very quick. Sometimes we aren't even consciously aware of it. We just do it. So, holding space for others is a very big deal. And my next question is, how can I hold space for someone who is unaware of their privilege? We have, in my industry of education, with the amount of white people who work in education, I've had to learn how to hold space for those who are completely unaware. And I had to learn that in a very difficult way. If you listen to my past podcast about facing discrimination in the workplace, it really boils down to the fact that these people are so unaware of the privileges that they hold that they're not even ready to hear what I have to say. Not even ready. It's not even in their realm or work field for this to be happening because it makes no sense to them whatsoever. So how can I hold space for those people? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not giving up. I constantly bring it up. I slip it in when I'm talking. We have to use that vocabulary in order for people to start hearing it and to start understanding it. I also, and I don't want to say I'm forgiving of those people because they need to know better. They need to know better that they have a privilege and that if they're being harmful, they're being harmful with it. Like I just gave you the example a few moments ago, he was causing harm, but I don't think he was intentionally harmful. He just doesn't know any better. And I think he'd be really easy to start speaking in this viewpoint and teach. There's people like that who are welcoming and are welcoming to hear it. But there are others who are so resistant and can't even handle it that that's where we need to start holding space. And a lot of it, I think, is holding space for yourself as a BIPOC person who might, or white person who's trying to do this work, dealing with those who are unaware. And that really gets into my next course that's going to come out. Let's see. It's the 4th course. We start August, September, October. It should be coming out in November, I think. I'll get back to you. You can look on my website. I told you this is me riffing, not perfectly scripted. We're really going to get into how to hold space for BIPOC people and for white people who don't know where they fall with their privileges and where they stand. And that's going to be such an important course to get into. For right now, I would say just keep teaching yourself and learning and dropping in those little golden nuggets whenever you can. Whenever there's a nice little space for something, you can add it in there. As long as you feel safe doing it, that is. And that's how you're going to hold space. So that's where you're going to lean on people like me who are white presenting. And I can drop stuff like that all the time because they don't expect it. People don't expect the things that come out of my mouth because of the way that I look. And that is a privilege, and I know it, and I use it. Okay? So again, if this conversation, just a little rift, really interested you, please share it with others, but I highly encourage you to go to my website, ravenrabbit.com, sign up for Transformative Spaces. Part 1 is live. Part 2 is going live in a few days, September 1st. I'm so excited. Part 1, though, is all about this privilege, understanding your power. It's called Advancing Justice, because if you know this stuff, you're going to start advancing justice. I know it. Our next course that comes up September 1st is Transformative Spaces Part 2, Analyzing Your Culture. Oh, that's such a good class. I really love that one. We're going to analyze your culture. Whether you're BIPOC or white, we all have culture, and you have to analyze it to understand yourself in order to really understand your privilege and to really start making a difference. Oh, and you know how I said I couldn't remember which one was which? It's 4. 4 is how we're going to hold space for people who are unaware of this. So please head over to my website, sign up for Transformative Spaces. It's completely free. You will get a certificate at the end, and I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to see you in there. If checking your privilege is something that has been on your mind, please comment whether you learned about a privilege you want to share about, or I lost my train of thought on that one. I just know if you want to share about how privileges have affected you, please share in the comments. Thank you so much for being an awesome listener, and I can't wait to see you inside my course. Thank you for listening. Expand the life, healing, and happiness of others in your field by sharing this episode. You can get more of my content and other helpful tips by following Raven Rabbit LLC on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Be sure to comment on Spotify and answer the episode's question so I can keep creating content you love and desire. Thank you so much.